Michigan Magazine is kept on the road by our many Michigan friends. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts. The Michigan-made rebounding mailbox pole. Never again worry about the winter snowplow taking out your mailbox with this ingenious rebounding pole. Your mailbox takes a hit and keeps coming back year after year. Call now or visit their website, toughmailboxes.com. Experience the beauty, artistry, and taste of northern Michigan. Come to Amish Country Natural Products on Mount Tom Road, north of Mile, just off M33. From arts and crafts to fresh foods and vegetables, all natural, all local, all good. Stop by. Get acquainted with Amish Country Natural Products, 1454 North Mount Tom Road, Mile. Coming up on Michigan Magazine, we think spring and capturing Michigan's mighty trout along the Rifle River. We're guided in our adventure by fly tying aficionado river guide Mike Bachelder, who demonstrates how it's done. Then a step back in time to the days of the CCCs, Roosevelt's $1-a-day boys, with researcher, filmmaker, songwriter, and author Bill Jamerson of Escanaba. It's all coming up on Michigan Magazine. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, what began as a crazy idea among 9 police officers to purchase the historic Clare City Bakery quickly became an international phenomenon, carrying on a Michigan tradition with delicious donuts, pies, pastries, breads, original coffee, and more, plus a full menu at the new adjacent traffic stop diner. Downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts. Hale Hardware, your do-it-center in Hale, Michigan. Much more than a regular hardware store, providing everything you need for whatever your project is, along with a knowledgeable sales staff to get her done. Serving northern Michigan since 1946. Hale Hardware, south of M65 at Ainsley in Hale. Hingeman Acres, Canoe Livery and Resort on M33, just north of Mile, catering to the outdoor enthusiasts. Cabins, canoes, kayaks, rafts, and more. Daytime or overnight trips along the world-famous Asaba River. A family getaway for over 75 years.
Today's edition of Michigan Magazine finds us near the banks of the Rifle River in Ogama County, at a shop called Bachelder Spool and Fly, preparing for a guided tour and a quick lesson in fly fishing. This is the home base of fly fisherman Mike Bachelder, who is also a river guide and master fly tyer. We met with Mike at his shop one early spring morning, where he began to tell us of his love of fly fishing and just what he looks for in landing prize catches of trout along the Rifle River.
Trout feed when they wake up in the morning. Basically, they'll see maybe tens of thousands of things floating down the river as debris or sand or silt or leaves, sticks, and numerous types of insects. There's probably over 1,500 types of mayflies and their larvae. And their larvae go through 7 stages before they become a full-grown adult. So when the trout wakes up in the morning, he's got a lot of things going by that he can eat. And instead of wasting his energy trying to grab everything, what they do is they'll look and say, okay, this morning here comes stonefly. And they'll concentrate on stoneflies throughout the day, that particular trout, and they'll let everything else go by. And then the same with any kind of trout in the river. Just because this trout wakes up and wants a stonefly, the other one may get up and look at, say, getting some kind of caddis. So he'll pick on caddis all day long. So you got 2 fish eating 2 different things. So you gotta, it's an experimental thing, and that's what fly fishing is all about, is trying to outwit the fish.
The trout, yeah.
Right.
Well, today, by golly, we're talking with Mike Bachelder. What Mike has done here, I think, is really quite neat. This was an old garage at one time. They sold cars here at one time, and there's an airport here adjacent to this building here on their property.
Right.
And so what you've done is taken this building and you've made you call it
Bachelder Spool and
Fly.
Yeah, and the way I came up with that name, my family moved up from Ohio in 40s. In service and oil well equipment at a machine shop, and it was called Bachelder Machine and Tool, and then it became Bachelder Tool and Die. So then I thought, well, I might as well match that and call it Bachelder Spool and Fly.
Well, at any rate, what you're doing here, I think, is really quite neat. You're strictly a fly fisherman.
Fly fishing only.
Fly fishing only, and you tie your own flies, and you specialize in that, and also you're a guide. I mean, people come in here, they fly in here, or they drive up here. You take them down the river, and which a little later here we're going to do. But Mike, how in the world and how long have you been tying flies, and whatever got you interested, and what age did you start at it?
My grandpa, my mother's father, taught me to tie flies for bluegill fishing when I was 7 years old. From that, I basically lost interest going as a child because I was a worm fisherman until I got into high school. Then I started fly fishing for bluegill or bass out on the lakes, and not so much the creeks and rivers. But about the age of 17, I really took an interest in steelhead fishing again, but I always had an interest in brown trout and rainbows and brooks. Some of the smaller creeks, it's pretty difficult to fly fish on.
Oh boy.
But when I discovered what kind of habitat and what kind of runs of fish we had here in the Rifle River, I became very interested in it. So around the age of probably 17, 18 years old, I picked up a fly rod again, and not using it full time. Full-time fly fishing I took up probably 5 years ago, where I went strictly fly and got rid of everything else. Now I fish for whatever I fish for, bass, pike, bluegill, crappie. I use a fly rod.
Fly rod. Strictly fly rod. Now, the weather certainly determines what kind of bait also.
Yes.
And what we're fishing for.
Yes.
And today you're going to tie what type of fly? And what do you think that will be, we're going to try for what? Steelhead and brown?
Steelhead and brown trout today. Basically I'm going to try a red rib stone, which is a variation of a stone fly, and the red rib just gives it a little bit more color, a little bit more flash. That seems to help sometimes. I'm also going to tie a micro egg, which is basically the same thing as a steelhead egg that may be floating down the river. But those are the two flies that I'll probably tie here today, because those are probably 90% of what I catch my fish on. But I carry with me throughout the day probably around 50 different patterns.
They're different type flies.
Different type flies, and they may be 2 or 3 flies the same type but different colors. But in general, they're all probably a different pattern, from anywhere from hex nymphs to caddis, up into artificial eggs of all kinds. As far as nymph fishing itself is a whole different situation, because you're throwing into the current, you're getting your bug to the bottom and letting it drift through. And if a fish doesn't pick it up, you just return the cast. And what we're going to do is just a little flip cast and stuff. So it's not your traditional fly fishing looking thing.
My gosh, I'm looking forward to this. Never made a riverboat trip, and this will be the first one for us. And we'll be seeing probably some wildlife as we travel down the river, maybe?
We'll get to see a lot of different types of ducks. I've seen bald eagle and osprey on the river this year.
Well, we were excited to get on the river, and after a quick lesson of fundamentals of casting a fly rod, Mike had us in the water and scouting for today's fishing hotspot. As we drifted slowly down the Rifle River, Mike made it quite clear that there was much more to fly fishing than casting correctly. His years of experience taught him exactly what to look for.
You can tell where the steelhead make their reds. They call them reds and not beds because they dig a hole instead of bring gravel in and make a bed. They dig a hole. They'll be on your left-hand side of polished gravel.
Oh, I see.
See
right
the
there.
upturned gravel?
Yeah, okay.
Those are reds. No fish on those. There's generally not in this area because of the amount of fishing pressure right next to the bridge.
I see. Isn't that something?
So what we're going to do is we're going to skip over the first little bit here.
All right.
And we're going to see if we can get down away from the fishing pressure a little bit.
We soon tied off at a promising site, and Mike proved to us that he knew what he was talking about. Within 3 short casts, a small steelhead fry struck his bait.
This is either last year's steelhead hatch, or this year, I don't think the DNR is planted yet, but it might be a plant this year. And what this is just a very immature, 1.5-year-old steelhead fry.
Is that right?
Yep.
Well.
If I can get it out without damaging it.
Yeah.
Because this is what comes back.
This is what it's all about.
Year. Took the egg.
There you go.
I wanted to show you a picture of them, but
there you
got a
go.
little.
That's all right. We got it.
So I caught a fish. That was a steelhead.
That was a steelhead.
On my first cast.
May not be the 6-pounder, but we're still after him.
Yep.
Okay. Then on one more cast, Mike tied into a little more respectable catch. Oh, he's got a nice one. Oh, that's a nice fish. Nice fish, Mike.
Yeah, took it on the first cast.
Hey, how
Looks
about
like he grabbed the caddis. And he's about a 5-pound male.
5-pound male. Boy, they really fight, don't they?
Oh, they sure do.
You got... Oh, they're beautiful fish, too.
What we try to do is get him into the slow water.
Okay.
Keep him away from the spawning female so it doesn't disrupt what she's doing today.
Right. As you can tell, Mike loves his work and is a big supporter of catch and release. Soon it was my turn to try my hand. It didn't take me long to catch on, but before I had a chance to catch anything, a light rain began to fall, so we headed on to the shore for a quick shore lunch prepared earlier. Mike tells us that his guided fishing trips include a lunch of both sandwiches and these unique hot lunches that are cooked right in the box by just adding water to prepared solution. These hot entrees are thoroughly cooked within 15 minutes. Well, even though our first ever fly fishing expedition was cut a bit short, we had a great time fishing the beautiful Rifle River, and would like to thank Mike Bachelder of Bachelder's Spool and Fly for introducing us to the wonderful world of Michigan fly fishing.
Michigan Magazine is being brought to you in part by Something Special's cooking hot and delicious. Indulge yourself at Morning at Maggie's in Bay City. Omelets, frittatas, hotcakes, and more. Make every day special with a stop at Morning at Maggie's for breakfast or lunch on Saginaw in Bay City. Rose Valley Winery on Beechwood Road in Rose City. See what thousands are raving about, creating a delicious variety of award-winning Michigan wines. Stop by and taste for yourself. The taste of Michigan is yours at Rose Valley Winery. They were called Roosevelt's Tree Army here in Michigan back in the 1930s. The CCCs, the Civilian Conservation Corps, was made up of young men put to work by President Franklin Roosevelt under a federal works program that put over $3 million to work nationwide. Here in Michigan, remnants of CCC camps can still be found from the furthest reaches of the Upper Peninsula to the southern borders and in between. Michigan Magazine recently crossed paths with an award-winning Michigan author, filmmaker, songwriter, and singer who's traveling the country telling the story of these dollar-a-day boys in a nostalgic and at times humorous presentation. Bill Jamerson brought to television audiences a remarkable film called Camp Forgtten, a look at the life of a CCC boy. Now, that was a labor of love for you, wasn't it?
It certainly was. Back in '92, I remember going to the reunions, and there were 500 fellows at those reunions, and boy, were they excited when that film came out.
Yeah. We went to a few of those reunions ourselves, and we ran to a couple of what they call them CC sweethearts, where they met their sweetheart on the road. You were just talking about that in your presentation today.
A lot of these fellows met their girlfriends in camps. They meet them at the dance halls, the bowling alleys, the roller skating rinks, and they love to date the girls. And the girls were very open to dating them as well, because they were from the big cities.
Right,
and if you're a small girl from the little town, you want to date the big kids from Detroit and Flint, because they kind of looked up to them.
Let's talk a little bit about the CCCs. You're dressed up like kind of a CC boy, the way kind of a uniform they had back then. You're kind of really putting yourself into character, and you do these presentations with your film and your book and the things that you've got for sale here. Yeah. And just to let people know, to bring back a part of history that was really a time in history who was essential to get these kids out in the woods.
Well, you know, a lot of these CCs didn't talk to their families about their experience. They talked to me, because I asked questions, and I was at the reunions and chapter meetings. So these programs are really an opportunity for people who had an uncle, a father, grandfather in the CCs to learn about their experience, to learn about what they ate, what kind of work projects, who administered their projects, what was it like, the clothing they wore. So I can help them understand, you know, what great-grandfather they went through, what their uncle went through. So it's a lot of fun. And I pick up a lot of stories on my travels. A woman just came up to a minute ago and told me about how her grandfather had an epileptic fit in the camps, you know, and stories like this. So I'm always picking up new stories.
I was talking once upon a time to a gentleman who had a very active role in trying to revive the CCCs to get the kids off the streets and into a productive environment like they were doing back then. Any thoughts on that?
The CCCs will never go out of date. The idea of taking troubled, at-risk youth and putting them to work in the forests with good role models That is a timeless idea, and it's as relevant today as it was back in the 1930s. The question is how to do it. And I believe it could only work if it was compulsory, a national service. Everybody 18 years of age, white or black, young or poor, would be required to do it. And number two, it would have to be run by the Army to maintain the discipline, because a lot of youth would need some strong discipline, strong leadership out there to govern them. But yes, it could be very, very productive today, I believe.
And everybody would win. It'd be kind of a win-win situation then.
Oh, it takes so many people off the streets and teach them how to work. That's what the CCCs did. You talk to these old-timers who were in the camps. It taught them how to work. They were fighting forest fires, working in the cold, working in adverse conditions. And they came out and their shoulders were straight. Yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. It taught them discipline, self-respect. They matured. And so, yes, it's very relevant today, I would think.
Back in the time where it was first formed, it was really a sense of pride for these kids these young men to be able to help the family out in a very trying time, wasn't it?
Well, they were paid $1 a day, and $1 back then was worth $20 a day. So $25 was sent home directly to the families. And boy, that's $500. That's a lot of money. And you got to remember, a lot of these families were not accepting relief. They were too proud to accept relief. But if their son was out there planting forests and building roads, they accepted that money. So it was a lifeline. Kept a lot of families from starving. And so you're right. The young men, they stuck it out because it was helping their families back home. That's why they put up with the hard conditions.
Well, your presentation does kind of draw the light on this CCC from way back. A lot of people in the area do relate to this because they have a member of the family who was part of that still.
Dozens of camps across northern Michigan. There were 3/4 of them were north of Clare. And so anyone who grew up in this area, they had uncles or dads, relatives. They were everywhere. There was an average of 57 camps in operation for those 9 years. That's 200 men in every camp. That's like 11,000 CCs every year. So it touched a lot of families in Michigan. Everywhere it's different. You know, you're out in Nebraska and they worked with the Soil Conservation Service. The CCs were working with farmers out there. You know, soil erosion programs. Up here they were planting trees and building roads. So everywhere I go, I'm always learning. But of course, everywhere I go to the state parks, because that's the greatest visual reminder of what they did. These beautiful shelters, the changing buildings, the park shelters, just fabulous pieces of work. And it's a great legacy they gave us. If anyone is interested in learning CC history, visit the Roscommon Museum. It's fabulous. It's open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. It's a bunkhouse, it's a barracks with pictures, with beds and uniforms. Great place to catch up on CC history. Also, if you go on the internet, ccclegacy.com, and you can click on the state of Michigan, it'll tell you where the camp's located. If you had an uncle who was in the Seas, you want to learn where he went to camp, it'll give you information, phone number. You can call a phone number in St. Louis to find information about any relatives who were in the Seas.
Well, if any club, group, organization wants to get a hold of you for a presentation, how can they contact Bill Jamerson?
Very simple. You can go to the internet, BillJamerson.com. Okay. And that's BillJamerson.com. And it lists my schedule. If they want to catch one of my future programs, it has my email and my phone number.
Great. Hope to see you on the road, Bill. Thanks for appearing on Michigan Magazine.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Introducing the Weed Gator. For safe and easy aquatic weed removal, the Weed Gator is the #1 alternative to harsh chemicals for getting rid of pond and lake weeds. Safe and effective. See it in action now at weedgator.net. Made in the USA. Flu season. Be prepared. Get your immunizations now at Rose City Drug, your one-stop pharmacy, home health care, and medical supply outlet, offering a variety of on-site immunizations. Walk-ins are of course welcome. Call now for more information. Well, thanks for joining us along Michigan's back roads. Hey, don't forget on those long journeys into northern Michigan to stop by a couple of wonderful, newly reopened historic inns and taverns. The Rustic Inn of Lewiston, where history comes alive and the tradition continues with great food and wonderful hospitality, where friends gather and memories are made. That's the Rustic Inn just south of Lewiston. And the revived Cedar Tavern and Grill of Lupton at Shady Shores, where family dining and weekly live entertainment make this northern Michigan favorite a must-stop every time you're in the the area. Drop by for good times. And that's this week's secret phrase. Send it along to us now to win. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. We'd like to thank all those that help keep Michigan Magazine on the road. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare. A winning combination. Cops and Donuts. Clemix Sales and Service on Mapes Road, west of Mile, your complete recreational vehicle sales and service connection. Visit their beautiful showroom of new and pre-owned ATVs, lawnmowers, power equipment, snowmobiles, utility vehicles, and more. Clemix Sales and Service is also the home of the American-made Victory motorcycle line on display at Clemix on Mapes Road, Mile. Announcing the Michigan Paddle Sports Directory, your one-stop internet connection. At MichiganPaddlesports.com, it's now possible to explore Michigan's extensive waterways like never before. Michigan Paddle Sports Directory is a comprehensive directory of canoe and kayak rentals and liveries throughout the entire state of Michigan. At MichiganPaddlesports.com, you'll find a great paddling route, outfitter, store, school, rental shop, or tour guide. Michigan's great waterways are waiting for you. Make it an adventure worth remembering by first visiting MichiganPaddlesports.com.